So is it just 10 seconds of any song?
10 seconds of any copyrighted song.
Like any song. All right.
Essentially.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, fine.
Do you know of any songs that aren't copyrighted?
Yeah, royalty-free ones.
Songs or sounds?
No, you can get songs that are royalty-free. Do you watch our podcast? We have a song at the very end called Ice and Fire.
I thought it was just sounds.
No. Anyways, so, clap.
Welcome to the Mind Your Own
Welcome to the show!
The show that's,
That is one of my favorite songs.
Which one was that?
Hell's Bells.
I don't want to say it.
You can say what the song
Oh,
is.
you can?
Like, oh,
You can
are
sing
you just
the
making
song.
these rules up now? Is
No,
this just...
I'm not. So YouTube has an AI that will literally scan through the thing, and if it sees any wavelength similar to one that exists, it'll pull it off. And it is notoriously good. Like if you're vlogging and you walk through like a shopping center, and the shopping center's playing it, it'll mute that section of your video.
Wow.
So,
Do you guys know Tool?
I don't.
46 and 2 is that song.
Funny.
You say you don't know Tool?
I know of Tool. I don't know if I've listened to their stuff.
Oh, wow.
It's my jam. Especially on days like today where I have to do like a fair amount of like computer work where it's just this kind of like bleh. Then I usually rock out pretty hard.
I am pretty sure that my dad is a big fan of Tool. Yeah. Like, I'm pretty...
Whoa!
I think it's Tool. It's. I mean, I don't want to say harder because Tool's, I mean, compared to like Screamo and other stuff.
Well,
Disturbed.
It's
Disturbed.
No, I mean it's.
But yeah, no,
I would not classify it as rock.
It's metal.
I would say it's a metal type of rock, carbon fiber maybe.
So, Mind Your Own Small Business, the show that is,
Cheaper.
it's better than a coffee break, cheaper than therapy. So,
You gotta
my brother
complete the
gave me a
middle.
really hard time on the episode where we had Mustache Man and
Rob.
Brian 2 on.
Yeah.
We never said what they did.
Good.
Like, he's like, you should, when you have guests on, you should introduce them. And so,
It adds to the mystery.
Yeah.
yeah, you're going to have.
It leaves your viewers coming back.
The funny thing
yeah.
to me is like, yeah, we've been eating meals together for like years. So like, how come you don't know who they are? So anyways, just didn't even think about it.
He's not wrong. That's
No, we really should do that. But we just finished eating. And so we just kind of sat down and started recording. Didn't even think about it.
it's true. I'm trying to pay somebody apparently.
Oh, by the way, I got to pay you.
And I got to pay you still.
Yes. I don't have to pay anybody.
We sold a die today.
Hey.
First time I dropped it back down and I upped
you're
my
right.
advertising budget. And so we sold the die. Which one did it, I'm not sure.
Is
But
this one on?
yeah, they're technically all on right now.
So if I move it,
Yeah, you're ruining.
probably-
You're ruining the whole podcast.
There.
ruining Christmas.
No,
You
I
know-
turned it off.
You know what?
What?
I think we should talk about intellectual property because we were literally just talking about intellectual property and about how you can't use songs.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Why not?
Intellectual property.
IP.
Hate it.
Me too. I've already told you two the story, but I'll refresh for everyone else. Last week, vacation in Hawaii. Great. Loved it. Beautiful, warm, sunny. Beaches are fun. Swimming with sea turtles, great. All the tropical fish was amazing. Snorkeling. None of my kids died, so
Excellent.
Totally different than Montana,
yeah.
where kids die all the time and it's cold.
Yeah, because of, like women's health things and all that political jazz that's going through the internet. Anyways.
What?
You didn't hear about that? The first confirmed death because of the new abortion laws just happened in our state? Or at least that's what they're saying on the internet. Anyways, but that's not what we're about. Politics are great. Just don't talk about them here. So, we sell the
Seashells.
designs for our Easter tombs, our high-selling product. So if you want to do it, you can make it for yourself. And then we sell a business version where if you want to sell them, you can do that. Well, we hired someone to ship all the products while we were out, and then we just responded to messages. So when we woke up and when we went to bed, we answered messages, and then if the person we were hired needed help, they would call us and ask for assistance, and we'd give it and whatnot. So it actually worked out really great for us. Except on, I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, someone went on and was like, hey, I'm trying to fulfill orders. Can you help me with your design? I'm having issues with, because it's an image on top of a vector and their system wasn't doing it quite right. And we look at it and like, you bought the personal use like model. So like, if you want to sell them, you need to buy the business. And their response is like, well, that one costs 5 times as much, and I'm not going to spend that much money for this. You can go.
Okay,
whatever.
but you have to say how much is 5 times as much?
$50.
$50. Okay,
it's $10.
You're not asking 5,000.
Yeah,
you're not asking 15,000.
No.
You're asking for
$50.
$50.
I don't.
That's 2 people going out to lunch.
Yeah.
It's
Really.
if you could sell 3 of them, that'd pay for itself. And like, anyways,
I don't quite get where. Obviously, we don't know anything about these people. Other than they're stupid.
Yeah, and they're going to sound more stupid as we get further along in this podcast. The rest of the story.
This is just what set us off on our initial adventure. So they said that they were selling it. So my wife is like, oh, I need to make sure that no one else is selling our tomb on Etsy. Because it specifically says personal use. And then in the business one, it says only allowed for physical sales. Like we own the online rights. Like we'll give it to you. You can sell it at farmers market and the craft fairs, but we have online.
You don't want to sell for $50 the whole farm so everyone else can sell it on Etsy.
But if you're going to Mama Joe's like farmers market, we're not going to sell to half the people there because they don't know how to use the internet. Yeah. I don't know.
AKA, no, right. But
So we went online and we started searching, and we found a tomb that had the same variations as ours, like cross variations. We found it had the same silhouette. It had the same tree that we use. It's a royalty-free tree that we bought. They bought the same one, put it in the same place, then used the same scripture. And you can't own scripture, so we're fine with that. But then they used the same, like, we have like small letters, big letters, and small letters. They did the exact same style. And my wife was immediately like, we need to report this person. This person's going down. We got it. Was already, I'm like, we're not the only ones that sell tombs, yada, yada, yada. So I did a little research, typed into ChatGTP what counts as like stealing intellectual property. And they said like it's either too much of the likeness or can confuse your brand.
Brand confusion. Yep.
And there are other tombs out there, but ours is fairly unique in like the total package. And this one was nearly identical. So with that, I'm like, okay, you can ask Etsy, say like, hey, we think this is taking it, put in the claim. Etsy sided with us, and we thought that was it. Except later that day, we got a message through Etsy where the guy was like, hey, I came up with this completely on my own. No inspiration was taken from you, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, we already won. I don't need to worry about this. So we went on our day. Then they found my wife's photography page, and they start harassing her, saying like, no man can serve 2 masters. Like started quoting scriptures, like who copyrights scripture, like you feel good about yourself, like tearing down some starting entrepreneur, da 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 da.
Did you check? You should check which version of the Bible the quotes came from.
King James.
Oh.
And so
No, I'm sorry. The scriptures that they were quoting to you, find out which version of the Bible those came from.
That would have been interesting. No,
that will kind of point you towards
whether it was, because a lot of people use NIV.
Yeah.
But
Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. But it would
Totally matters.
It would be interesting.
Totally matters.
If they're quoting scriptures from NIV and they use the tomb from the King James, that would be a little bit of a red flag.
Oh, okay, I follow.
Yeah,
I follow.
Right?
There.
It totally matters.
Yeah, you picked up
it.
on it. So my wife blocks them from the page, and then they start direct messaging her. And so at this point, we're like, my wife's, it's ruining the day for her. She can't concentrate. So we used ChatGPT to write up a strongly worded email being like, okay, here were the 3 things we had problem with your tomb. You offered the same variations. Your layout was nearly identical, and the art that you put on it was the same art in the same place. If you change XYZ, we won't come after you. We don't care. Also, stop harassing our employees, or we will take legal action against you. And when we did that, they sent us a new variation of their tomb, and then they never talked to us again, and we ran off happily into the sunset. But
The Hawaiian sunset.
the Hawaiian sunset, that whole thing was insane to me because literally 3 weeks ago, I had something like happen to me on Etsy, and I was just like, you win some, you lose some. And the thing is that he hadn't sold anything yet. And it was a laser cut thing, so he could still cut out other stuff. The listing I had down was physical products, so I have thousands of dollars of product now in my basement I can't sell and I don't know what to do with. But like I was just like, whatever. But this person lost essentially nothing. He didn't lose any like momentum. He didn't lose anything, and was ready to like burn down our business because of what we did to him.
This wasn't the same guy that bought.
No, this was a completely different guy.
Okay, this is a completely different guy. I'm sorry. Originally when you told the story, I thought it was the same.
I did too.
No.
Guy.
Okay. Different guy. But the whole reason we found this,
I came up with this with myself. I also bought yours for
Well, that's
$10.
Yeah, that's
No,
where
no,
I was
no, no,
confused.
no.
But
But the whole reason we found it is because after we did that, we did a quick search of tombs, scrolled through, and then this one, like we even showed it to my sister-in-law who we were staying with down there, and she was like, "Yeah, if I didn't know what like your tomb versus their tomb, I would assume they're the same one, because at a casual glance they looked nearly identical." And so that's the reason we took it down. But it was insane to me because like I've dealt with it on both sides, and I've never like I was a little upset, but I've never been that mad.
yeah.
And I don't get it. So, anyways, because of that, I want to talk about intellectual property because
That was the long lead-in to intellectual property.
it only took me 15 minutes. 10.
Imagine how long it was for us. Woo.
So, what is your thought on intellectual
Listeners
property?
are like 2x.
Do you think that I was in the right there? How could it maybe been handled better? XYZ.
I think handled better, the person shouldn't have stole your stuff. Period. The end. I don't know. For me, intellectual property is pretty cut and dry, just like you. And I've been on both ends. I have.
Careful what you say.
Yeah, I got worded right. Although I don't want it to make it look like I'm a thief or a liar.
Or both.
I had product that I was selling that the acquisition of said product was a little bit of a gray area. I basically was
Questionable.
purchasing products from an MLM and then reselling those products at a markup online. This company didn't like it, and they sent me a cease and desist, which wasn't my first cease and desist that I've ever gotten certified
be your
mail.
last.
So
Oh, certified, so they know when you got it.
yes, most. That's how, in my experience, that's how you know cease and desists are legit, is when they come certified mail.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I've had things stolen from me. Granted, it's not been like a lot, and now I'm thinking about it. I don't technically own the rights to those designs, so I guess I've never truly been on the side of somebody stealing something that I've created. But I have had people hop on listings and sell a similar-esque product, and then it just steals potential sales away from me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think in your case, I think the person stealing your idea, and then lying about it, clearly wrong, that they
And once
There's
again,
no way that they could have been the original person if they hadn't had a sale. Everything about it was true, like all that, and then to get caught, double down on the lie, and then get caught again, and then go to harassing. That's just being a poor loser at that point.
yeah, a little bit. And I honestly, it very could have well been parallel thought. Like it could have been, like
Sure,
but at the same time, like
unlikely.
unlikely.
If they're using the same font
Yeah,
as you,
It was different font. It was the same font style though. So like we have there's a small line, there's a big line, and then there's a small line, and then the scriptures underneath, and they did it the exact same way. I don't know if they found the same font because they were using. They didn't have access to Adobe, so they don't have the same repertoire of fonts that we have access to. They were designing in something called Inkscape, which is a free program. I use it all the time. It's a free vector program, and so they didn't have access to the same fonts as us. Which I'm pretty sure if they would have been using Adobe, they may have just straight up used the same font we did. But like it, and the same clip art too, the same exact one. And when you search like that item, Easter tombs, like we are in the top 10. So it could have been heavily like inspired by, may have been the thing. The other is the variations, that they had a large one and a small one, which is we are like the only ones that do that, which is another one that was just weird and is. But like I feel bad because like they're trying to start a business, and that's
no,
essentially
don't feel bad. Don't feel bad.
they need to learn that lesson. Okay, so they need to learn that lesson now.
Yeah.
Now is a good time to, if they're starting, and then you worked with them. Now, I thought you were very kind in saying, "Hey,
Even
you're
if it was
obviously
artificial kindness.
but
ChatGPT.
that's true." The robot was nice, but in your situation, like I mean, they're harassing.
Yeah.
They're harassing your missus.
Yeah,
Okay,
self-defense.
you're getting like somebody who's sitting there and being quite belligerent about it. And then you said, hey, look, here are the three things. Like, this is what we're having a hard time with. And then they changed it, which means they have some level of knowledge and design. And then you were like, okay, fine, we're going to keep going on our going. So, you know, you weren't to this idea that you were crushing a small business. No, I think that really you took it, you did that whole thing very well. But, you know, when I do entrepreneurial coaching and stuff, as I tell them, I say, look, right now is a great time to make those mistakes. Because I remember when I made a $350 mistake when I was first starting in my company. And, you know, since then I've made $13,000 mistakes or $30,000 mistakes. And it's just, it's easier to make the mistakes when things are slow and small and starting in between you, because you're not a lawyer, right?
Yeah,
you did
yeah,
not.
yeah.
So I learned a mistake, ended up turning out okay. But one of our brands, we were trying to run a trademark, and I did it by myself with the good old internet legal stuff, right? And it came back as rejected. My trademark came back as a reject. I said, nope, you're not allowed to have it. And I said, oh, okay, well, that's an issue because this is a brand that we've been using for a long time. It was the trademark of a brand name. So then we get I got a real attorney, right?
Yeah.
Paid him real money. And I said, hey, this is what was rejected last time. And he said, oh, we can do that, but we just need to file it this way. Well, he files it that way. And then the day before Thanksgiving, I get 2 days before Thanksgiving,
It was 2.
I get a certified letter in the mail, a cease and desist. We will proceed to legal action if you do not shut down all sales in the next 7 days. Okay.
Because you filed the trademark?
So because I filed a trademark that originally had gotten rejected, and we made some changes to it and refiled with the USPTO, U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So then I'm freaking out, right? I'm trying to figure out Thanksgiving. We're traveling. I'm trying to get a hold of my attorney. So then that next day, I finally get a hold of my attorney. I said, hey, I just got this. Do I need to turn everything off? And he said, take a picture of the letter, send it to me. He took a look at it, and he said, no, you're fine. But I need to make some phone calls. So keep it open, whatever. What happened was this same company that didn't like my brand before in their category didn't like our brand in this new category that was separate from what they were doing. Now, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office had already basically accepted this, said, yep, we're fine. But as part of Trademark, the way that they do is they publish it. And then there are attorneys whose sole job is just to search through new patent and trademark applications so that then they say, okay, does this match up? So really, it wasn't the company that was coming after me. It was the law office they had in retainer.
Yeah.
Okay. So a phone call later, this lawyer to their lawyers, they were like, you know what? Yeah, we sent it out because it's a scare tactic. It really is. Just like you. It's absolutely a scare tactic.
It's a scare tactic. Well, when we did that, originally they're like, hey, we're going to fight this legally. And we're like, go for it. Like, you've sold nothing. Like, anyways. But yeah, it legitimately put a smile on my face when they're like, we're going to take this to attorney and sue you. And I'm like, what losses? You haven't sold anything.
You're gonna spend $2,000 to $5,000 fighting me for something you haven't sold anything on.
Yes. That's what I told my wife immediately. But I was like, that was the message I didn't respond to, because that's like they're like,
Right.
I came up with this. You need to like remove this, or I'm gonna go to an attorney. And I was like, do it. I dare you. And so that's when I went back to sleep. And then they started harassing my wife. And so we actually responded to the harassment. But
And said, now we are going to get an attorney because harassment has
actual laws
now
against
it's
it.
libel.
So anyway, we ended up getting it sorted out, and they didn't have any legal ground to get at it. And this brand was one of our top selling items in our entire catalog. So yeah, we had a lot going for us. But it was a scary situation. So my argument is, like, right now, and we talked about this with what is the AI image creators things? Midjourney.
Midjourney and Stable Diffusion are the two big ones that people use.
So like now you have this whole new level of how much do you have to change before it's no longer a copyright infringement or a trademark. Now, trademark's a little different because you're talking about brand confusion. And that's the big thing. If Apple is a technology company and someone comes out and creates Prapple,
A technology company,
there's an issue. Now, if you have Apple, the technology company, and you have Apple, the fingernail trimmer company, okay, that's different, right? You're not looking at that brand confusion, but brand confusion is one of the primary reasons that when the first trademark law was 1870. I was looking up. It got squashed constitutionally, so a new one came up in 1891. That one stuck. Then the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office came up in 1905. I know, nerdy, right? But this whole idea of we want to make sure that people don't have brand confusion, that people aren't stealing ideas. And so that when the idea is in the hands of essentially the creator of that particular idea, it doesn't get stolen and taken and used by somebody else. I'm wondering, and it's old, right? We still do this. Is it even like
I think, does it need to be a thing anymore?
Does it need to be a thing? And if it does, what needs to change? Because, like, for example,
Well, you have patent trolls. So
yes, you do.
The reason why Ridge Wallet, there's so many copies in the United States, is because before Ridge Wallet became a thing, someone just filed a patent for what essentially is a Ridge Wallet, but it's not an actual Ridge Wallet. It's a very
Hang on, they filed the patent or a trademark?
patent.
Okay.
They filed a patent for it because patent trolls are different than
Right.
trademark trolls.
Patent.
So they went after
Real quick, patent is usually on either a design or an engineering principle for a particular item, okay, and
or process.
process. A trademark is for a mark, color scheme, word, etc. that you are using inside of.
We would trademark something like that.
Something like that, or we have the name of my sandals Kaiback, which is a trademark. And then on at the same time, you also have copyright, which is typically for things like a literary document or something along those lines that you can't copy word for word.
copyright?
and songs are copyrighted. Art, essentially.
Yeah, art is copyrighted. Images,
Like this song.
trademark.
I can't patent a song, but I could patent a song making process
Ooh, that's really weird.
to make music
That
a
you
certain
then copyright.
way, that I then copyright. It's like a double
and then
doozy.
trademark the name of the band.
But I wanted to just clarify that. I don't know, as far as listeners are concerned, if they're like, well, what's the difference? So that's a short version of the difference between those different things. So,
You just went over it, and I still don't understand it, so it's fine.
great.
No,
Cool.
Learning in your podcast. Not a
I
thing.
mean, that's technically what we're supposed to be doing is educating people, but whatever.
So we're just griping? Is that what it is?
No, yeah.
Okay. Continue on what you were saying. You forgot.
Oh no, yeah. So someone filed the patent for essentially what a Ridge wallet is.
Oh, yes.
And then Ridge Wallet came out with their wallet, and they tried to sue Ridge Wallet. Well, the thing is that a lot of U.S. courts have kind of picked up on this, and if you're a patent troll, you kind of have a little bit harder time. They still exist because obviously, if you can make money by having the broadest idea and then patenting it, waiting until an object comes out that's close to what you patent, and then suing them. A lot of times, if a big company, they'll just throw money at you to shut you up because that's why you exist. But anyways, because of that, Ridge doesn't own the patent on their wallets in the United States, which is why I can sell a white label version of it legally in the on Etsy. But in the UK, the patent was still available. So they filed the patent in the UK and got it. So if you're an international seller that sells in the UK, then they can issue cease and desist and take down your listing worldwide. And it is annoying, and I understand that they're trying to protect their brand, but still, when I only sell like 3 wallets a month for $15 and theirs is $90, I don't even think we're in the same, like, I don't feel that I'm stealing market from them at all. Like,
I guess the thing that confuses me about that is everything that you've mentioned, for me, falls under trademark. It doesn't fall under patent. I don't understand how, because the confusion of the brand is...
But no, this wasn't under brand confusion. This was use of intellectual property.
Yeah. So in that case, the
So
wallet
they said
itself,
a wallet that consists of 2 layers with a money clip that's elastically held together is what they filed a patent on.
So that style, that look, the little push out thing,
The
on
little
the bottom,
push out thing and all of that got
that is
patented.
their design. It is a design patent.
In the United States, it was ruled too broad, and so everyone is still allowed to
Which
use
I guess
it.
that falls under where my understanding is. I was like, that's extremely broad. Because I'm going through this process right now with patents and trademarks and the two differences between both. And so that makes sense. Since I am a U.S. citizen, that makes sense to me.
But in the UK, somehow they got it, and so someone started scrubbing through Etsy, finding anyone who was selling in the UK, and filing things to get their links taken down, which was, yeah. Anyways,
Why don't... Well, whatever.
what are you going to say?
Why not just amend the listing to not sell it anywhere?
In the UK?
Yeah, say U.S. only.
I can. I just haven't gotten around to it.
Oh,
No. Wow.
okay.
Look, so
We thought you were a victim, but really you're just not
Lazy.
using your time efficiently.
it was making hundreds, and I'm making thousands of dollars on another product, so it's kind of gotten
That's fair.
swept in the rug
That's
a little
fair.
bit.
Which I owe you money, by the way.
Yeah, you told me earlier.
Okay,
And then I
I'll
said I
tell
owed
you
him
again.
money.
I don't know anybody.
So how much do I
anybody.
pay you now? Because I'll just pay straight to you instead.
And then you can take it off of mine.
I get a paycheck from you, so...
But so here's my question for you. Going back to this, when should you look at, or when do you think a person should look at filing a trademark, patent, whatever? Should it be immediately? Like, is because of the scare that we had with the tomb, is that something that I want to look into getting some sort of intellectual property protection, either through a patent or a trademark or whatnot?
I'll go first.
Yeah,
Because
what do you
mine's pretty
Go
cut
ahead.
and dry. No. For you to file a patent, I'd say no, because the cost to do it is dramatically more than the lifetime earnings of what you'll make. I
How
think
much does it cost?
Uh, starting out, a good patent, you're in the tens of thousands. Now, also, the way in which you make them,
it isn't unique enough. Yeah, no.
I don't think it's unique enough. When somebody files, so for me to file a trademark, I think you should trademark your stuff always. I think trademarks are good to do. If you have a brand, trademark a brand. Patents, I think you only patent if your process of doing it is
very unique,
or according to other people, a good idea. Like just because you think it's a 1 in a million kind of an idea, I don't think is grounds to make it a patent, to put the legwork into it. But if you have somebody that's like, dude, this is pretty sweet, and you want like legit protection against the process in which your stuff is made, you do the patent and then you trademark your brand to protect your brand.
Interesting.
I'm very, very similar lines than that, but I'm going to dig a little bit deeper on some separation. So, number one, yes, trademarks. I think trademarks are very important to, at the very least, start out by doing research. Okay, you can go onto the USPTO website. You can search their database. You can pay some legal assistant a couple $100 to do their job and go even deeper on it. I was consulting a company, and they're like, "Yeah, this is going to be the name of this shoe line that we're developing." And within 10 minutes of me sitting there knowing what I know, I was like, "Hey, there's a problem because there's another shoe company with that same name." And they're like, "Well, no, we didn't hear about that from anybody. We didn't hear about that from." And I said, "Well, here it is. So I don't know what attorney you've been paying, but they're doing a terrible job at it."
Well, I remember when we were looking at starting our keyboard company, it was going to be called Regalia. And you within 10 minutes is like, it looks like the only other people who use that is some hair dryer company. You'll probably be fine.
Yep.
Like that's pretty impressive to me that like you've developed that skill. I don't know, but yeah, like.
Now I would say along those lines is sometimes even though you're in different spaces, you can, if your logo is. So the biggest probably example of this is Apple. Apple sued the food prep company Prepare, and their Prepare's logo was a pear, the outline of a pear with a leaf, and Apple sued them because their logo was a pear, and it's like, but I mean, you're talking tech and food preparedness, right? That's almost as far at the ends of the spectrum as you can be.
Did they win?
Yeah.
Oh. Dude,
okay.
But go ahead. Continue.
The reason I would feel that they won that is that if I created let's say I created a food company.
Yeah.
That was the Nike swoosh upside down.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're not talking about names at this point. We're talking about distinguishable. So if it's a pear,
brand confusion,
and that pear just looks like an elongated apple with a bite and the thing. What they're doing is Apple is protecting their intellectual property, and sometimes it's just to open the conversation. It's I
want to look at it. You continue talking, but I'm pulling out my phone.
Okay,
I'm going to look it up.
Take a look. It's all right. We look at our phones all the time. It's not that we're bored. It's just that we.
Really, that was close enough.
Oh wow, that's not even close enough.
Like if I saw those two, I would never confuse those two.
I think that was.
Oh, it was definitely considered an overreach of a big guy smashing down the little guy, and some argue like, does it even really matter?
What was the name of the company?
Prepare.
Prepear.
Okay, never mind. I rescind what I was talking about because I see no
overlap. If I saw those two logos side by side, I would never consider them the same organization.
No, especially that they're in entirely different
fields.
So keep reading that intent because if they really won, that's
and
really
it may have been settled out of court. Like in order to
the case is finally settled with the meal planning app Prepare agreeing to slightly alter its logo to avoid causing dilution of the distinctiveness of apples.
No, so when you said food prep, you said it was a food preparing app.
I'm sorry, it's a meal planning app.
So it was tech.
It was tech, and it was probably being sold on an Apple App Store.
Huh.
So that's a little more,
I don't know. How's it different?
I don't
I don't know if
That's
it's...
it. Like
I'm
you're saying,
trying
you're
to
saying
shove a square through a circle hole. Okay,
no, that's fair. Because I'm like, you were saying that's tech is like saying
what I thought when you said food prep, I thought you meant like someone who like sold saran wrap, or like someone who like cut up fruit and then put it in little packages and then sent it to people. Not like a meal planning app where you download it on an Apple phone.
Maybe shoulder space. Like it's not the same space, but it's shoulder.
I don't know. What you're saying is like the same thing to me. Because how would that person sell their stuff on an app on the internet? Right? Like that's how they sold their stuff. Like
yeah.
Right?
Like, technology's embedded in everything nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so they took their app or their logo. We should screenshot this and do a little infographic on the video. Their leaf was rounded, and they made it a straighter edge with a little bit of a curvature at the bottom. So
it was the leaf that was the issue?
that's the change they made to make it look.
So it was like me and my tomb thing. All I said is fix XYZ, and then we're good. I don't know. And I also
probably a power flex. I mean, it really was.
I feel it was a little bit too. It's like, hey, we're Apple. Get your fruit logos out of but yeah,
Prapple. So, so coming back a ways, where you say, is it worth it? I feel like you do your research. If you are like a small start in your garage,
prepping stuff in your living room,
$10 is hard to come by. Then no, spending $1,000 on a trademark attorney to run the trademark gauntlet maybe isn't the best place to start. Now, I will mention that trademarks, the best and easiest way is that you're already selling something with that product on it. Like if you're saying, theoretically, I want to create this brand, the trademark office doesn't like that. They want to see that you're creating and building those things. So,
So, okay, let's say Thackeray Factory. I want to trademark it. What would I need to provide then?
I know exactly what it's
Good.
So I just had a renewal. I just had a renewal on the Kaibak name.
How often do you have to renew a trademark?
5?
8.
8?
That's a weird number.
It's 8 years because if you remember, it was 2015 is when we filed it.
Every time you have to baptize
Is it 8? Maybe it's 7 and I filed it later. Honestly, I can't remember. But I had to send pictures.
Weird number.
I had to send pictures of product with the Kaibak name on it in all of the categories. So like we do shirts, we do belts, we have all these different the categories, apparel categories that we're a part of. And so we have to show, and like this year we actually dropped it off of a couple of items, and I won't mention which ones, but we dropped a couple of categories because initially we started there and then we didn't end up building anything more in that category. And so we said, well, we're not going to worry about paying and fighting within those categories because I don't have proof of it on those. Now, sandals were there, right? Shirts were there. Beanies were there. But
weird thing. So I actually looked it up. Like the only difference between trademark and owning the intellectual property is that when you own a trademark, it gives you a leg up when suing for damages. Is the main thing that a trademark gives you over just owning it. Because if you already produced it and you have evidence that you made it first and were selling it first, you can get them to take it down. But unless you want to go that one step further and be like, hey, you took some of my market share, you now need to pay me what you took plus damages, that's what you need to have a trademark for. So we don't have our logo on any of our products, though. We put it on the packaging of our products. So what would that be then?
So the other thing that's interesting so talking about the Thackeray Factory, like this idea, number one, I think it's long enough.
That I don't
and
have to worry
it's
about.
unique enough. I don't know how much I would worry about someone else coming in and trying to create a factory.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law got mad at us when we made our business because she's like, I was going to use that.
Your sister-in-law watch this podcast?
I hope not.
Yeah. Oops.
Snip,
snip.
No.
Play a song. Cut it out.
quick, make it so that it gets copyright, whatever. She said like, hey, I was going to use that, and her response is like, well, we are using it, so
Too bad.
essentially, and
Tough titties at the kitty.
so we made it, and our other thing is like, this is Thackeray Factory 3D. If you want to do something else with Thackeray Factory, do whatever you want.
No, you don't want to do that. It's you don't want her to call anything close to Thackeray Factory.
I'm not worried.
Okay, great. But what I'm getting at is like
Really hope you don't watch this podcast.
when you're looking at it from the perspective of like where you are, okay? Yes, you are a maker. Yes, you are generating items. You are creating stuff. You're not branding anything. You're not. I mean, you have ideas and you have art, and you could arguably copyright art. The problem with some of the copyright in art is that some of the stuff you're including in that art is
Belong to something else.
Yep, it's a licensed art or different things.
And a lot of its geometric shapes is things you can't copyright.
Okay, that's fair. Trademark does, in my opinion, because like, I mean, you could also argue that you go to some place that's like, well, we're the Tandoori bakery, and it's like, okay, well, Tandoori's pretty general use. It's a specific physical location. I'm not saying that Trademark's good there. Trademark is really good when you are trying to build a brand equity.
Yes.
Especially if you're thinking you're going to sell it in the future. And you are generating items that have that brand equity on it, right? So if you're wearing an Under Armour shirt, Under Armour doesn't want someone else having a brand that's called Armour Under and it has two C's that look like this, right? They don't want that. That's what they're protecting.
Over Armour.
You have
Over weakness.
Where you're at. No, now your Rugged Life Gear.
Yeah.
That stuff. I think Rugged Life Gear is a prime candidate. Rugged Life Gear that's sitting on, it's like your brand knives and flashlights. That is there because what you don't want is someone coming in and creating Rugged Life
Games.
Stuff. And
RLS.
Yeah.
And
Using the same logo.
Going that.
I need to revamp Rugged Life Gear. So far, it hasn't sold. It sold a little bit in February, and then it's been.
You sold a knife while you were gone. I owe you money. Did I mention that?
I need to revamp that brand really bad. Like I've just been so busy with.
Well, that's fine, but you're chasing after, and I think that that's okay.
Like you don't want to. What is it? Stepping over dollars to pick up dimes?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I very much agree. I want to build that into a successful brand.
Huh?
I did it again. Remember, I did that like 3 episodes. I did the same exact like flub. Successful brand.
Those sexy brands.
The sexy brands. I want to build it into a successful brand, but I haven't found its product yet. I haven't found its Easter tomb or its levitating die. So as soon as I find that, then I can. It'll make more sense to invest more time and build it into something.
And at that point, you would want to think about getting something
trademark.
trademarked because where it's at right now, like if someone came in and fought you on Rugged Life Gear or something occurred, you would be maybe frustrated. You'd have some equipment, but it wouldn't ruin what you're doing. If you instead decided that Rugged Life Gear is like, oh no, someone said I can't use that, so now you're going to call it Outbox or something, then it's like, I'm okay. I'm going to survive. With our brand, we had sold so many of that item over so many years that when we finally got around to trademarking, we were in trouble if it wasn't going to go through. Like we were trying to figure out how do we change everything, our brand equity and all these pieces.
And once you own a space, or at least are a major player in the space, that's
or even
when
first to market.
Yeah.
Meaningful first to market in a space.
Once you have something like that, like you want to hold on to that and do whatever you can to protect it.
Which is what Apple did, which is why Apple was kind of a jerk, because they said we don't even want to let an inch in on this, because you're selling that app on our app store that we think works. And if Apple goes in and they lose, they then know where that line in the sand is, and they're okay with it because they have legal teams and money to do that.
And then they move their goal. And so, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Dude, this is...
They're also valued, I mean, at the time, I think they are still pretty close, if not over, but they're valued at $1 trillion.
It's true. It's true. Oh, man, but...
That's a T, folks. Trillion.
And I just want to make a couple million, so...
Now. So, I wanted to get into, so when you're talking about, like, that's trademark, right? A word or a mark of some sort. When you're looking at patents, you are right. Patents can be tens of thousands of dollars. It depends on the kind of patent. There's engineering patents. True. There's design patents. Design patents are easy to get through. Like, so for example, let's say someone has a design patent for a style on a shoe. Okay. So then someone else could come in and tweak the design and it's fine. Right. And there's not that legal ramifications. An engineering patent is like a process. It's like, hey, when I make my sandals, I have this level, this level, this level, this level of these compositions of foam. This is the TPR composition. This is everything that's there. If someone comes in, and this is what gives us our squish or gives us our whatever. And so when someone else comes in and says, hey, wait a minute, I want to make that, and they go out and they use it, then you can go after them and say, hey, that was our design process, or a steel making process, or a cement making process.
What do you think Netflix had when they went after Blockbuster? Because do you remember? Did you not remember that? So Netflix started the online streaming thing, and Blockbuster, in order to try not to die, launched its own streaming service. And Netflix said, like, no, this is ours. Here's our patent, and they won. And
look that up. My first thought is they probably built, even if it was a straw case, they essentially wanted the final death nail in Blockbuster for sure. But then you had, Apple TV and Amazon Prime and these other ones that came up with their own streaming services. Now, here's what's interesting. Okay, you keep looking that up, but I'm going to bring this one up because something that can happen is, let's say you weren't using a tech device that you bought out of China. So let's say you're a white label and it's a pair of, let's say a fitness watch, okay? That fitness watch comes in, you're selling it under your own brand, everything else. Well, now all of a sudden, someone else who owns a patent on one of the processes that's happening inside your fitness watch, that essentially that Chinese company stole, put into that watch and sold to you, you are still held liable.
Interesting.
So, it doesn't happen very often, and because it's, those kinds of things are difficult, but, there was a friend of ours, and I'm going to try and keep this as vague as I can. There was a friend of ours that designed an item that goes on your face, and it looked a lot like there was basically a button, and it looked a lot like another company that did stuff for your face.
You've done a really good job about keeping it vague. There was an item on their face.
What am I talking about?
This region.
I was about to say, well, it could be headphones. It could be.
Oh, not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
They were eye headphones.
So essentially,
sunblockers.
That's even like closer. But they ended up having to go through a lawsuit. They paid out a substantial amount of money because it was just similar enough to what they were doing, what this larger company was doing. And it was fixed, right? Yeah, these companies don't want to generally, necessarily, if they're not a patent troll, they're just protecting
what's theirs.
What's theirs, right?
Yeah, and
they
9
don't
times
hate their
out of
neighbors.
10,
they just want the fence up and no one to hop over the fence to steal.
Yeah, like with the Prepare, as soon as they changed the leaf, it was good. And with my situation, is they made the changes so that there wasn't that confusion. Like I don't care anymore. It's just I don't want people looking for my specific item and then ended up buying theirs. So
I found it. Cool. 2007, so a hot minute ago. This is when it was settled. Was in 2007. Blockbuster settled a patent dispute with rival Netflix that challenged Blockbuster's entry into online DVD rentals.
Oh.
So that actually makes a little more sense.
So it wasn't about the streaming platform.
It was about
Blockbuster tried to enter the DVD rental game online, and Netflix said,
which is OG Netflix. That's what Netflix was.
That's how they started out.
I think that turned to Silver Screen. I think is what that section of Netflix is called now.
I don't know. But that was.
Do you know that still exists?
I'm sure that there's still a Redbox outside the Walgreens.
That's true.
I mean, come on.
When I worked at the mail, like I would deliver DVDs, and I would just be like, people still do this? But it makes sense because they didn't get.
Well, and you can get really obscure stuff that you can't find. And that's what when we talk about.
What stuff are you into?
Swedish stuff.
which then they sued them because Blockbuster was like, we invented the back room first. So
had a black light and a beaded curtain and everything.
Blockbuster, more like black. Never mind. So if you have not what I anticipated, I stopped. You can just remove that. But what Netflix really was good at was the long tail, right? People who wanted to get this documentary that was literally impossible to get anywhere else in any of the Blockbusters, et cetera, and that might get rented 3 times a year. But for them to keep it in a little sleeve in an inventory was very inexpensive. And so that was what they were doing. And that process up until that point had never been done. So yeah, that makes sense that if Blockbuster came in and said, we're going to start mail order DVDs and we're going to be the first one, or we're going to do it even though Netflix is doing it. I can understand that.
This is knowing what we know now about Netflix, okay, and where it started. I'm going to read you what was written about it, like what the suit was, and then as I read it, you tell me what your thoughts are.
Uh-huh.
A Netflix spokesman declined to comment, but Blockbuster said last year its larger rival had stolen its systems for placing movie selections in a queue and its business model for charging subscribers a monthly fee to select and rent DVDs from its website. So Blockbuster was claiming that Netflix stole this process of selecting DVDs, putting them into a queue, and then charging subscribers.
So it was like a process.
Hang on. Pause. Was this Blockbuster sued Netflix?
Netflix.
No, Netflix sued Blockbuster, but Netflix didn't say why they sued. Blockbuster's the only one that sued.
Netflix sued Blockbuster saying Blockbuster stole its system for placing movie selections in a queue.
So it wasn't necessary. So they said that they took the software that they developed, is what they're saying.
And then Blockbuster countersued on fraud and antitrust claims and said Netflix patents were so broad as to be unenforceable.
Gotcha.
And they settled. They settled out of court. And I think the settlement was that a portion of every rental needed to go to Netflix.
So
and then
I think they settled out of court by saying Blockbuster was just going to go out of business anyway. So
there's still one left.
Yeah, it's
in Alaska,
right? Yeah.
That blows my mind.
It's run by the old CEO. He's just up there.
He's just
He got exiled.
They don't tell him that the business is gone. He thinks he's still running a large national one. And it's like, how's my business doing? Like, it's great, Grandpappy. We rented 3 movies today.
Am I busting those blocks? Do you remember in Mission Impossible when the codes got the first Mission Impossible, 1996?
Okay.
When the guy, everything was taken, or the Nautilus was taken from Langley, and the guy that lost it basically says, send him. It's like, put him. I want him at the farthest outpost in Alaska. Mail him his clothes. And that's basically what happened to that Blockbuster. Is they said, let's just go to the furthest part in Alaska.
Deuces.
And they shut down everything to there.
Mail him his late fees.
Oh, man, that's crazy. So we're 5 minutes.
I know. We're almost at the hour mark.
Dude, this was a fun. This I think was probably one of our most educational episodes.
Yeah, I thought sometimes it's a little talking about educational stuff can be a little more boring than exciting.
I don't feel this one was that boring.
Luck is better. But
Yeah, come on.
no, luck is better. It gives you sixes and dollars. No, skill is better.
So intellectual property.
Experience.
Okay, but this is actually one thing I wanted to talk about intellectual property.
You're gonna start it now at 5 minutes till the end?
Yeah, no, just a little bit, just a little bit.
He said no, but he's gonna yes. So here we go.
alright.
Yeah.
What?
Intellectual property, all of the laws that we've talked about only protect you in the United States.
True.
To an extent.
Once you get out of the United States,
It gets well. So One Wheel, they paid factories in China to make One Wheel, and then at the next consumer entertainment convention that they had in Vegas, a new single wheel vehicle by China was being released.
single wheel,
And I don't remember what, but
single rounds.
One Wheel talked to the convention and had that booth forcibly removed from the convention because it violated patent law. And so but the thing is that they're still completely allowed to sell it over in China. And as long as they file the patent in places like the EU before One Wheel does, then they can sell it over there as well.
Correct.
And so when you move into a global market, defending your brand and your ideas becomes a much, much more difficult
expensive.
game.
And quite frankly, even if you have the paper, because this is something that I will emphasize until the day that I just leave this
Mortal coil.
Yeah, this great life here. It is literally a piece of paper. It is only as far as you can protect it. Okay, think of it like if you own. So let's say you own a half-acre lot. Okay. And you can build nice tall walls on that big acre lot, and it won't cost you a ton. You can build defense systems or whatever, and that acre lot belongs to you, okay? Now let's say you had to do the same defense for a 30-acre lot. That's going to cost exponentially more money. You're going to have a lot more problems with holes. I mean, look at the U.S. border, right? So there's a lot of just, when you have these large... a larger swath, it's harder to defend all of that. So, yes, are there international patent stuff? There is.
Don't look at it.
There are.
I just unscrewed it. That's fine.
If that microphone falls off, I'm going to be pissed.
The EU has their own. I mean, each country has their own laws. China takes a lot. I think that there is some benefit, and I don't think we're gonna get into that today. We're not going to get into that today because we're almost over and finished. But sometimes taking and using, great. The One Wheel, if One Wheel never gets to India, but the
Chinese knockoff
does get there. Now those people have that opportunity that One Wheel maybe never would. So I guess what I'm saying is when you know what your kind of area is,
find the area that you want to defend and that you can afford to defend.
That you can afford to defend. Because if you try and spread out your resources and you want to try and fight street vendors in South America because they're using your Easter tomb that they found and knocked off and cut it out, and they're now selling it on the streets of Peru, you're not going to go down there and try and squash all of, anyone who's been to South America, that I guess years ago, where they would sell pirated movies on the side of the road, and that was just
and then knock off everything. I knew a guy who came back with a bunch of knockoff Pokemon cards, which I thought was hilarious. But
that's as you set your fence, you set up where you want to protect, and that fence can grow, right? You can in the future go buy a 30-acre lot and go start fighting people offshore, but focus on your area first, and don't get so caught up in the fact that maybe someone is selling something that looks like this in Colombia. It's not right now is not the time to fight it, especially when you're a startup. You were going to say something.
No.
Great.
He's too distracted by this.
Yeah, I messed up. I shouldn't have fiddle farted with that. Let's end this so I can fix it.
Okay. Any more final thoughts from you about it? This is interesting. I don't. Yeah, TM. I know this is something that I need to start moving into because what I'm building now is growing large enough that I'm going to start running into issues. Like as soon as you start selling thousands plus of a thing,
You'll start turning heads.
yeah, people are like, oh, hey, he's having success. I want that.
Yeah.
And then they'll start either making knockoffs or something to try to do it as well. I mean, that's essentially how we got started. Is someone's like, hey, I like these, but I want it a little bit different. Can you make one? And so we did that. And so now we're in the space, and now someone's doing that with our stuff.
Which, and this is maybe a talk for another time, but which is why sometimes I feel like that it's antiquated because especially now where we have so much access to larger markets and different things, you got started because you saw someone else's good idea and you made your own variation of that good idea. If that original person were to come after you and not be as kind and say, no, the idea of, I know this is kind of irrelevant, the idea of an Easter tomb out of wood belongs to me. Therefore, you can't do it, and they have more money than you, and you just go, well.
Then we would have been dead in the water.
Exactly. You know, I think about some of our sandals. When we first started, a lot of them were white label produced sandals, and then we had our brands, and we did some design work on our own. But if someone came to us, if someone were to come to us and say, oh, by the way, having a sandal with one strap over the top is our trademark, you can't use it, then we would not enter into the space.
One of the greatest quotes, I think, relevant to this.
Yes, end it on the greatest quote.
One of the
Don't
greatest
sell
quotes.
yourself short. The greatest.
It's not my quote. It's from The Social Network when Zuckerberg is fighting the Winklevi twins. He says, "A guy who builds a nice chair doesn't owe money to everyone who ever has built a chair."
It's true. Oh,
Okay.
man. All right. So,
But he paid the Winklevosses and Divya Narendra anyway, and he also paid Eduardo Saverin a lot of money as well.
Honestly, sometimes the answer, especially with bigger companies, sometimes the easiest answer is
money.
here's the money.
Leave
Now
me
you're
alone.
happy.
Go
It's not
away.
hurting me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
Oh, I was going to say a joke right there, but I won't.
Well, thank you so much for watching. Podcast comes out on Wednesdays. Audio podcasts available essentially everywhere audio podcasts are available. Apple, Spotify, Google. YouTube actually now has a podcast section, so that's interesting enough. And video podcasts available on YouTube and Rumble. Watch us, follow, like, subscribe, hit the bell, do all that jazz. And we'll talk to you next week. What about it?
There needs to be a little silver thing on this inside of that. Oh, gotcha. Sorry, I saw you trying to put it in, and I thought that it was involved, but no, you're right.
Nope. Fixed it. Nailed it. Crushed it.
I was going to say, because now I can't say this. I was going to say, just paying somebody